Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Alan. Wow, it's good to be back. What a good talk title. Life as a pilgrimage of exploration. And the last time I was on this stage, you got to welcome a large pilgrimage for me for my ordination time, which I'd been a pilgrimage for me for 50 years. And those of you that came, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was beautiful. I can't think of anything I would have changed about it. But as Reverend Nicole told you, we won't be here to serve you Thanksgiving dinner. But I have a very small consolation prize for you. I can give you a Thanksgiving joke. And this is a corny crowd. You're going to get this for sure. So what's the scarecrow's favorite fruit? Oh my God, she was a 9 o'clock. She's an outlier. It's probably Florin, no bagels for her. Jeez. So we're going to talk about a pilgrimage. And most of us have a picture in our mind of what a pilgrimage is. And so normally most pilgrimages are places that we walk, places that we go a long way, and we're walking not just to walk for exercise. It's an exploration. We're walking to get something out of it. We're walking to get some inner awareness. Possibly we're walking to understand our God or our deity or whatever we worship. And we talk about this golden thread of truth that weaves its way through all the different spiritual and religious traditions. And if there's one thing that really makes that happen, it's the pilgrimage. The Buddhists have 50 places that they can make pilgrimages to. I'm going to have to use this. They have over 50 places they do. The Hindus have at least 100. The Christian believers, they like the Holy Land. And certainly the Muslims, that's a right of a Muslim and an expectation that you will make that pilgrimage one time in your life. So if there's anything that brings us all together, that threads us all together, it's this concept of pilgrimage. So if I define pilgrimage at a place where you're going to take a walk to this place that feels special to get some type of spiritual enlightenment, how many of us have made a pilgrimage? Any hands? And when you made that pilgrimage, how many of you had a different experience? You would describe it as at least slightly spiritual. A lot? Yeah. Because it's all about intention. And these pilgrimages are special to us. And I looked through the public domain. I found one experience of a pilgrimage I wanted to share with you. Not that it's written by a yogi that's been doing this for hundreds of years and has this truth that no one else knows. It's this concept we talk about here is this creative aspect of the divine that we all are in our own way. And let me read you her story. And she was doing the pilgrimage, the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which is a very famous one. They say the bones of St. James are buried somewhere along that road. It goes like this. As I was walking this great trail, I crossed paths with different people as I began to find the rhythm of my Camino. On the fourth morning, I met a couple and we walked together. But as the morning wore on, I felt more and more exhausted. And as they walked a little ahead of me, I called to them and said, I'm going to have to give in. As soon as I said it, I knew that giving in was more than just taking a rest. I meant to sit down and contemplate what else was meant by that statement. Apart from the physical weight of the pack, I was also carrying some very heavy emotions with me. And they were often more difficult to carry than the rucksack. So I was now having to consider whether I could finish. And at the same time, I wanted to do my Camino my way. I was also conscious of all the other people I started out with and whether I was ahead of them or behind them. I had a growing sense that in order for me to do my Camino, I was going to need to let go of notions of keeping up and preoccupations about where I was in relation to the pilgrims who had begun the same day as me. I also saw this as a metaphor for life and living, and that I was being challenged to let go of deeper perceptions, notions, and ideas that any other person could ever be behind me or ahead of me, or that I am ahead of, beside, or behind anyone else. So the key challenge was to allow myself to walk my Camino at my pace and in my way, as this mirrored the challenges of my own life and living. So that's a beautiful story because that's her story. And we all have our own story, and that's what the pilgrimage is all about. It gets us a place, an opportunity to tell that story. And please don't save up money for thousands or for tens of years to go overseas to do a pilgrimage. I've never left the continent of North America, and I've done plenty of pilgrimages, and I've liked them a lot. I want to talk to you about taking a pilgrimage today. And a pilgrimage from a sense of maybe you're in a place that's not so good. So go with what I want to talk to you today is about going from a place of denial, maybe, a place where you're discombobulated, a place where you're not in a very good place, to that place of awakening. Because the story is, and the truth is, that we have this beautiful divine spark inside each of us. It never goes anywhere. It's always there for us. It never takes a day off. And a lot of us think of that, they think of that inner spark as the inner sense of Jesus or the Christ consciousness. The beauty and the love and the soul that is the essence of you. And so we have our times when we're in despair. We have our times where we think our entire world is like a black screen. But we can use that inner spark. We can fan that inner spark to produce light and give us the radiance and the life that we long after. We can fan that spark and feed it to produce warmth, to give us that beautiful, compassionate, and lovely life that we fan after. And sometimes we're sleepwalking. Sometimes we're sleepwalking is like your leg or your foot's asleep, and it hurts a little bit to move it the first time. But freedom is not far away, and it's easy to achieve, and then we're out of that funk that we were in before we had it. But sometimes it's more than that. Sometimes it's major stuff, or at least we think it's major stuff. Sometimes it's our lifelong dream we had, we realize we can't do it anymore. Sometimes we lose this cherished relationship. Sometimes our life is just down in the dumps, so to speak, and we don't know how we're going to get out of there. So to me, that's the pilgrimage, to going from a place of not knowing that we have what we need to a place of awakening. And the pilgrimages from all the different religions was a place of awakening and giving thanks to whatever their spiritual tradition was. And so we can do that, and I have 3 items that we can use to help us on our journey. And the first item is hope. And sometimes, we don't do it so much anymore in this movement, hope was a word that was sort of looked down on. People would say, no, you shouldn't be hoping, you're doing that wrong, you're praying that wrong, you should be knowing. And but let's use the word hope. And I want to relate a very special story in the Bible, and a lot of you are familiar with it. It's in the Hebrew Bible, the story of Job. And I'm going to tell it a little bit differently, and there's different points that come out of this. So Job was a very successful man. He had good prosperity. He had good possessions, and he felt good about himself, maybe a bit self-righteous. And maybe that's what brought him down in the first place. He was too full of himself. Sometimes we get too full of our ego, and we think we're better than everyone, and we wonder why we've constricted the good in our lives. So his empire started to crumble, and then his health started to go. And it got to the point, the low point of it, he was sitting on the burned shambles of his empire, picking at the boils that he didn't know how had appeared on his face. And you'd think, well, a powerful man like that who had a lot of friends, his friends would be a lot of help. Well, that wasn't the story. His friends were really judgmental and saying to him, you caused this. Much like we used to do 30 years ago when a person comes sick, they're saying, what were you thinking to create that sickness for yourself? Thank goodness we don't do that anymore. And so that went on, and no one was really happy. But they were all focused on how bad it was. They were all focused on the external part of this. And then a young man, much younger than the other friends, but a bit wiser, and maybe to butcher this pronunciation with my southern accent, his name was Elihu. And Elihu was not taken in by these external circumstances. So he said this to them. He said, there's a spirit in us, and the inspiration of the Almighty gives us understanding. So was Elihu, did he give a damn about the external circumstances? Is that what he spoke to? Absolutely not. Once again, he said, there's a spirit in us, and the inspiration of the Almighty gives us understanding. And so things started to change because he changed the focus on how bad the physical was into the spark that was inside each of them. And slowly but surely it worked. And Job then eventually started praying for his friends who, in the earlier stories about the friends weren't really doing friendly stuff to him anyway. But he started praying for them. As the story goes on, that restored him. In the Bible it says, and the Lord restored his wealth to him, gave him 4 times what he had before, gave him 3 beautiful daughters, and he lived to 140 years. So that's pretty good success about what we say, change your mind, change your thinking, change your life, because that's what it was. The story goes that the focus was changed. And the focus was changed, the healing happened. And hope is that. Hope is knowing your truth inside no matter what the external circumstances look like. Emily Dickinson said this, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tunes without the words and never stops at all. So that's what hope is. Hope is that still small voice inside that's looking at any external condition, no matter how grotesque it looks like, and saying, that's not my reality. So that's the first H term we can use to look at it. We can have hope. The second one, we can have help. So in the Christian Bible or the New Testament, the first 4 chapters, Jesus tells us to ask for help over 50 times. He goes, ask and you shall receive that your joy might be full. Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Everyone who asks shall receive. What person, if the son asked for bread, would give him a stone? And if you then know how to give gifts to your children, how much more would your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask him? So that's what we do, and that's embedded in our teaching too. And where the asking comes from our teaching is we talk about a creative process here. Well, there's an intention, a desire in our mind, and we ask for it to come into our life. And this creative process is this beautiful creative soil, we think of it. And the soil knows nothing to do but to grow the concept of that seed into our reality. And when we ask, we ask big, because the only thing that's stopping us from asking big is our ego, our belief that we don't deserve things. So we ask big so we can go with a thimble or bucket to the well of prosperity. So that's the second step in our pilgrimage we can use. We can definitely have hope and know that the external circumstances are not our future reality. They're what's out there now. And we can ask for what we want. And the third one is the one that we need to integrate everything. The third one is heart. So now, we can walk a journey, and it can be a beautiful, wisdom-based journey, but it's a bit more antiseptic tasting without the heart. Because what does our heart do? It brings the love into our experience. Ernest Holmes says, all is love and all is law. And the love is the compassion. The love is the warmth that divine spark is generating. The love is that part of us who knows, without a doubt, that we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. That love of us, as our heart breaks open, we become vulnerable. That love is our love of ourselves and love of each and every person we meet. So now that lonely journey, as wisdom gaining as it was, starts to warm up. We start to walk with a little bit of a spring in our step. We start to know the truth of who we are and feel it warm and compassionate and loving to whoever we meet. And we give up a little bit of our own identity. But we gain so much more because we're merging with this oneness from which we came. Anyway, so let me close with some words from Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind. He says this: through spiritual discernment, we have within us a power which is greater than anything we shall ever contact, a power that can overcome every obstacle in our experience. Instead of a safe, satisfied, and at peace life, we can become healed and prosperous and bring in a new life and a new light. So he's telling us what we can do on our pilgrimage, and we can use these three things to do our pilgrimage. We can have the hope that Job had, that's in each and every one of us, that knowing that no matter what, there's peace, there's love, there's joy. We can ask specifically for what we want, and we can ask knowing as if we already have it. What Jesus said was, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things are added. When we're in that space that we know, we're powerful spiritual beings. And the last step is we bring heart into it, because heart is what integrates. We all say we're whole, perfect, and complete. You can't do that without your heart being wide open. You can't do that sitting by yourself. A whole, perfect, and complete person goes out and integrates in every crowd they can. They love everyone they can. But when they get that heart involved, it just kicks everything else into overdrive. So that's my challenge to you this week. Don't save up your money for a trip overseas. Take your spiritual pilgrimage this week. Start with the heart. Let it empower you and let it get all your false doubts out of your mind. Then ask for help, because the help is just waiting. We believe it's just waiting. There's this unformed spiritual substance in the universe that stays unformed until we say what we want. and then it's just something to do our bidding. And finally, don't stop there, but bring your heart into it, and I make it a nice warm place by a fireplace where love abounds, and everyone there you see a bit of yourself in. So that's my challenge for you this week. Thank you, and God bless you.